media get to eat too? Did you guys get some food?
You getting paper, Chief?
Did you guys get the steak on this side or?
Okay.
We had a good sandwich too.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional lands of the four nations which make up Maskwacis: Ermineskin Cree Nation, Samson Cree Nation, Louis Bull Tribe, and Montana First Nation. We would also like to acknowledge we are on Treaty 6 territory. First Nations peoples. Oh.
Excuse me, if we can be quiet in the back there, please.
Thank you. First Nations peoples have marked this territory since time immemorial, including the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge this as the Métis homeland and the home of the largest population of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. Hello, and welcome to our distinguished panelists and to the local, national, and international journalists with us today. We hope you've had a moment to read through and take to heart the trauma-informed practices and information that have been provided to you in the media guidelines document. This will help guide your questions and inform your reporting during the papal visits. Here with us today are Elder, Knowledge Keeper, Survivor, and member of Samson Cree Nation, John Crier. St. Anne's Residential School Survivor and Advocate, Evelyn Korkmaz. Ermineskin Cree Nation Chief Randy Ermineskin. Samson Cree Nation Chief Vernon Saddleback. Louis Bull Tribe Chief Desmond Bull. Grand Chief George Arcand Jr. of Treaty 6 and Chief of Alexander First Nation. Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation Chief Tony Alexis. Frog Lake First Nation Chief Greg Desjarlais. After making their statements, the chiefs and survivors will be available for some questions. Questions will be limited to one per media organization. Microphones will be brought to you when you have a question. We have one for each side of the room. Please raise your hand and get the attention of our attentive microphone carriers. As time is limited, there may not be an opportunity to get everyone. However, this event is being recorded, and a link to that recording will be sent with statements and a media kit after the event. Now, a friendly reminder to please set all of your mobile devices to silent mode. And we will begin with a statement from Chief Randy Ermineskin.
Sorry, I guess I should listen to some of the advice I'm given. Tansea, naraskum naga kyo ebe tagoteges be sitoskoaiko gagi be snomagsitsik. Wawasenam sigasan. Iwa tanta pues mositanum digo ka oga petogo isame wino tape apewista kaponista mat. Iwa tane mstahame uga pesta manos iwa kakamemo ya kakio. Gam skamakis no giwe team ga peotia ka gwita go ta wista gaps ga wat gita tsik kiano me satoske hota ka we so ga ma wista kam skaki we te mi asnigo tenigan. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, my name is Chief Randy Ermineskin from the Ermineskin Cree Nation, and my Cree name is Wawasenam. And it means he who throws the light. I'm honored. One thing I want to mention, if you've seen the sign at the arena where, as one of the former commissioners, a member of our nation here in Ermineskin, Chief Willie Littlechild, mentioned that to us the other day that some chose not to be called survivors, but some chose to be called thrivers. So I'm one of them. So I'm so happy. But I feel just after today, the strength of our people, I was emotional up there. As soon as I got up there facing the people that came to hear an apology, my heart broke for just a pain for a little while in that moment. It was just a sense because I was sharing with my friends that came to visit last night that I sat there in memory of my late brother, Brian, who took his life when he was 17 years old in 1969. He attended the school here, and he just said, You'll never see me again. This is the last time you're going to see me. And sure enough, he did what he did. And I always think about that. He was only 17 years old, 1969. I always think back, what kind of a life I'm sure he'd be a prominent member of our nation. But we remember, and I sat there thinking about my parents, my mom and dad, my brothers have gone on. They went to school. They left this world without telling their stories. So that's something that really was remarkable for me because it was significant for me, I'll say, because I was, like I said, that's all I could picture going back and forth. And some of my former classmates that they're, like I said before, for some of you, about 80% of my former classmates are in their graves. I don't know what it is about that age group, but it happened. Something happened. And I promised them that I would be their voice. I promised them that I would go out there and tell us the truth. You know, it's about truth, justice, healing, reconciliation. But one thing that Willie talked about today is hope. We have to bring and encourage hope to our communities, and I think that's important for us. I don't know why I'm turning the page. I'm not even reading the notes, but I'm so happy that all of you are here, and just encouraged that our nation here has been in grief, and now many nations across North America that have been grieving because of the residential schools. And we have an opportunity and an obligation now, same with you as the media, to go out there and tell a story, the truth of what happened. And now we continue on with that journey. Ermineskin was one of the largest residential schools in Canada. I was reminded, in 1969, I stepped into the gym that's just behind me to the south. I came full circle. I attended the school here, and I always said to myself, I'm going to be a better teacher than these guys. I had a dream to be a teacher. I was getting tired of getting my ears pulled and slapped, and I was told I was never get anywhere, never accomplish anything. 3 degrees later, I'm going to have my doctorate. I'm going to be here, and I'm just but I came and eventually taught at the school here. I became a phys ed teacher, and so when I was waiting for the Pope at the old residential school site, I could picture my first year in school. And halfway through in wintertime, we had to move to a new school. They tore that place down. But just the summer before I started school, they took the electric fence down. So that's the truth. So we think about that. Truth, justice, healing. Those are some of the things that I have to, as building blocks for my own life, I have to confront and figure out a way forward and continue to pray for our former leaders and continue to pray for our former members that we are representing here. We have an opportunity to do something, say something, but also take action on some of the things that we need to do. And as media, you have an opportunity to tell the truth as well. So I want to support everybody here. I'm thanking the chiefs that came to support and even the visiting chiefs and also members from the U.S. that are here that acknowledge that they weren't recognized in the U.S. as having some of the residential schools in their areas and in their communities, in their nations. we think about them and we have to encourage them. But thank you for coming, and I just mark this day as a significant event that a statement was made that the Pope said he was sorry. That is going to send a message across these lands, these waters, that as we go into the international politics and the scenes where the United Nations, where we've made a presence, but now they've heard it themselves. The world heard it. So thank you for being here, and I wish everybody well. Hi, hi.
And we will now hear from Samson Cree Nation Chief Vernon Saddleback.
You turn it on. Oh, there we go. Sorry. You guys are childproof. I sneak up at Netsigasan, and ask him to know, Kakio to go take Ota. Vernon Saddleback, Chief of Samson Cree Nation. I think thank you, Chief Ermineskin. I had always told Chief Ermineskin when it was announced that His Holiness was coming to our community here to come and apologize. I told him from the get-go that I was just here to support Ermineskin Cree Nation. They're our neighbor community. My mother's family comes from Ermineskin. My father's family comes from Samson, so I'm the chief of Samson, and I told him that whatever Samson can do to support, I said, well, we're here to help and do whatever we can, because I have a lot of survivors and thrivers in my community who are happy to hear the Pope was coming to apologize. Words cannot describe how important today is for the healing journey for a lot of First Nations people, and especially for the people from Samson Cree Nation. So I'm really grateful for this event to happen today. A lot of people are involved, but I do want to focus on one part of this whole day that was amazing. Early on, I asked Chief Ermineskin, do we have to speak? And he said, no. And I said, yes. Part of it is because but with His Holiness coming, it can't be, him coming to apologize is historic. It's important. And for myself as chief, I did not want this being politicized. That was my one wish for this whole thing. So I was glad no one got to speak except him and Chief Wilton. Wilton was part of the entourage that went to the Vatican to invite him, and Chief Wilton welcomed him. And he's the only one who was allowed to speak. The Prime Minister was here. The Governor General was here. We had politicians from Alberta. Our Grand Chief from Treaty 6 is here. We had the APTN National Chief here. And none of us spoke. Because for me, as Indigenous people from this land, sometimes we need to sit back and we need to listen. And for me today, with the Pope apologizing, today was a day for everyone in the world to sit back and listen. And for myself, I'm grateful for today. I think it was an amazing day. It's a historic day. And on behalf of my elders and all the people who've gone to residential school, I came to this residential school myself till grade 4. This is a historic day, and words fail me to say the importance of what this means to my people. So, excepitma notemtik. Thank you.
We will now hear from Louis Bull Tribe Chief Desmond Bull.
Nanse, my name is Desmond Bull. My Cree name is Okimankabao. I am the chief of the Louis Bull Tribe of the Maskwacis Nation of this Treaty 6 territory. Thank you for being here to witness this historical moment. As children, many of us were robbed of our innocence in childhoods. We lost our language and our culture. The trauma we endured and inherited as long-lasting and systematic effects on our people. As a day school survivor, I am subject to trauma that is carried into my adulthood. I am still healing and reconnecting to the traditions that our ancestors were not allowed to pass on. It is still a bit of shock now, and I'm certain emotions will become much heavier in the days following this visit. We all must consider the aftermath of this apology. We may all need time to fully absorb the gravity of this moment. I anticipate this apology may weigh heavily on open old wounds for survivors, I ask those to please seek out support services to assist in coping. Please know we are here with you and you are not alone. For some, this apology may be not what may be needed to begin their healing journey. For others, this apology may be feel empty. However you feel, it is valid. I just want to share something and speak from my heart at this moment. As I have this platform allowed to bring this forward, I welcome this opportunity. If you want to help us in healing on our journey within this country or within this province, please telling us. Please quit stop telling us to get over it. We can't get over it when the last of our residential schools closed in the mid-90s. We can't get over it when our survivors are still here. We can't get over it when that intergenerational trauma impacts every youth, every member, and everyone who had a family that is a survivor of residential schools. Instead of getting over it, I'm asking you to get with it. Get with learning about our history. Get with learning about our culture, our people, who we are. Get with reaching out to your neighboring Métis, Inuit, or First Nations person and learn more about them. You want to help with our healing? Get with part of our healing and be part of that journey. This is what I ask, and I hope people will see this. So when you see a First Nations, please don't tell them to get over it, but get with it and understand who they are and understand why they're going through the trauma that they are going through and be a part of that healing journey. Hi, hi.
And now, Grand Chief George Arcand Jr. of Treaty 6 and Chief of Alexander First Nation.
That's it. My name is George Arcand Jr. I'm the Chief of the Alexander First Nation and Grand Chief of the Confederacy of Treaty 6. Thank you, Chief Ermineskin, Chief Saddleback, Chief Bull, Chief Standing on the Road, for welcoming our guests from across the world, and more importantly, honoring our survivors by hosting this historic event. I would like to acknowledge our survivors, those seated at this table, the ones who were able to witness the apology in person today, those who are at home, and those who did not survive. What you endured in these institutions is unspeakable. I will never forget. We all must never forget. Know that you are loved, and I will do everything I can to advocate for the supports for you and our people. I hope the apology today was meaningful and helped each person in their own way, in whatever way you were seeking. I hope you felt that today. I think today we learned that the church has a ways to go. Turning that big ship is going to be a challenge. Using old analogies, moving the goalposts is a bigger challenge. In order for us to score and move our process, we need to move the goalposts. Sometimes I believe Indigenous people are too forgiving. We accept that because that's how we were brought up. We welcome people into our homes because that's what our parents taught us. Sometimes we don't question things. In residential schools, our people were taught not to question authority and to be ashamed of who we are, to be quiet and be grateful of the opportunity to be more civilized by assimilating, not just by residential schools, but by numerous government policies and systems that were put in place to keep us down, to get rid of us. You can imagine, I hope, why I feel there needs to be justice. The wrongs of the past need to be righted. I see Pope Francis's apology today as only a first step in the church making amends towards our people. After meeting with the Pope and hearing his words today, I believe there's a path forward together. There's a lot of work to be done. The system within the church needs to be unlearned their ways of patronizing our people, and repair the relationships by looking to us as partners. I have faith this can be done. I know it can be done. We've been doing this for a long time. We've been letting people into our homes for a very long time. And now we need to start thinking about how we can share that and how we can begin to challenge people as we let them into our home and try to understand the things that are going to be brought into our homes. I'm hopeful Pope Francis has shown grace. He can lead the change for his people, and we are prepared to walk alongside them in their reconciliation journey. I thank him for honoring our request to deliver this apology in person. It is a gift for many. I ask Canadians to show kindness towards our survivors, their families, and our communities. Some of us will be deeply impacted. Some of us will have to go home to our people and deal with the consequences of the things that happened today. Some of us will have to, for years, continue to deal with the fallout that has happened. I am hopeful that the Government of Canada and that the Church will work with us to find a path forward. As of today, we have no agreement. We have no commitment by the Church or by the Government of Canada to move things forward. We hope and pray that by the end of tomorrow, when people in the world and everywhere start to understand our plight, that the Government of Canada and the Church will reach out their hand and say, let's get serious. Let's talk about doing something that matters. Keep our people in your hearts and in your prayers. They will certainly be in mine. Today, I believe we begin a new journey. Today, I believe we now start to have to do the work necessary to make things better. And I sit by my fellow chiefs and survivors to build that new road, to create a better place for our people to live. Hi, hi.
We'll now hear from Alexis, Nakota Sioux Nation Chief, Tony Alexis.
Aborstet ipenoito ninaha banin. I'd like to acknowledge the Maskwacis chiefs for hosting us here today, all their people, their elders, their young people, their survivors. We hold them up today for taking on this responsibility to look after this apology that was made here on Treaty 6 land. It's important for us to acknowledge that the harms that happen here on this land, the apology was given here on this land. That's really important to recognize. You know, we stand with the survivors, we think about them. And then we also remember the children and the grandchildren of the survivors who have passed. For them, as we approach this day, there was a sense of hope that this apology will bring healing to them immediately. It's unfortunate that that cannot happen. Pope Francis apologized, and for some of the people that we know in the audience who speak Spanish, what I heard was that when he said, "I'm sorry" in Spanish, it had more meaning. And that's just like us when we speak in our own language. It has more meaning, it has more depth, it has more content. And so, unfortunately, we couldn't understand that language, and we tried to utilize the English language to comprehend what really happened here today. And so there's a lot, of hope that was that people brought here, and as soon as the apology started, people were triggered immediately. You could see it in the audience. You could see it and you could hear it from different messages we were getting as we were sitting there, that it triggered an opening of a wound again. And this wound that has been opened again, we can't just leave it like that. We really have to take the steps to make sure that we help heal and recover our people. And we are doing that on our own as Native people. But the partners that are participating in this, the people who help cause this through policy or through their own hand, which is the church and the government, they too need to step up to this. You can't just say, I'm sorry, and walk away. There has to be effort, there has to be work, and more meaningful action behind it. There was a call for an investigation. The investigation has to be done not by Canada. It has to be done by an independent. So there's a lot of work that still has to happen when we were thinking about this. And, you know, we are trying to find what is it we're going to do. And for everybody here that could not make it, we are here for you as a witness. And we've observed the songs that were sung by our people, the feathers that were carried by our leaders, the elders who were praying for us and hoping that we do a great job even as leaders sitting here right now. We were your witness. And how we perceive what happened today, it could be a failure or it could be a positive. And it's for everybody to judge that on their own because it affects everybody at different areas of their healing. But we know there are many who are focused right now on the thought of healing, and our prayers are with you all. Our prayers are with you and our thoughts are with you. The work is going to come from us. The outside have never really brought good medicine to us. It's always been us that looked after one another for thousands of years. And we will continue to live in that way and we will continue to grow in that way. But the apology that was made was validation that that really happened. And for the non-Indigenous community to witness them saying that this really happened is a validation for everybody of healing. And recognizing that there will be a wave of emotion throughout this country, as well as in this region. As host for tomorrow's event, we have our relative, our brother, Don Burnstick. He's going to be in Alexis today at 7 o'clock and at the camp that we're hosting, and he's going to be doing a show. And his theme is that it's healing through laughter. So we invite everyone to be there as well. But I just want to say to everybody here, thank you for being witness today, all the media who are here from all over the world, the people are watching. And we too are storytellers. So the story you tell has to be told in a way that today is a historic moment in life that says that we are standing on our own too. And that we, because of how, in spite of how hard it was to share the tough stories that our people shared, that brought the leader of the church here to come and apologize here on Treaty 6 land. We brought the Prime Minister of this country to stand here and be a witness as well. And we also brought the Premier of this region to be a witness. And so to all the survivors, thank you. And I just want to say to everybody, Ishnish, look after one another. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Frog Lake First Nation Chief Greg Desjarlais.
Honesta, Nanaska Mao, Mamotawi Mao, Nanaska Mao to Winskow, Asemina Tamskat no Kakyo. I said, I'm thankful to the Creator for today, that He allowed us to get up. My name is Greg Desjarlais. I'm the chief of the Frog Lake First Nation, Treaty 6, Alberta. I come here, to support my mother, all the survivors, the host community, the four Maskwacis bands, and all the ones that didn't make it home. I think about them today. You know, I think about the little children that wanted to be found here, that it started in Kamloops. I think about them. Maybe they were hungry, why they were found. You know, today, you know, is a day, I guess, would be bittersweet. It's bitter in some people's minds and hearts. You could see it on social media. Some people are upset. But it's also sweet for some that have moved on and moved into a direction of healing and owned up that there is a better life for our people out there. Even though our ancestors went through the social ills, the atrocities, the abuse, physical, emotional, verbal, sexual. You know, I sit here amongst the chiefs and survivors, also some survivors in the room. You know, but this apology, you know, we could take it, accept it, and move forward the best we know how, or we can be stuck. You know, I want to encourage the survivors to move forward in a good way, because we are the products of these survivors. Some call them thrivers. You know, they're the drivers as well that are going to help change the landscape for our children and grandchildren. You know, I felt the apology to be sincere. I felt the Pope really, you know, did some homework. He dug in and made it as meaningful as he can. You know, the language is the barrier. You know, but he gets to speak his language, where today I can't speak mine. You know, and that's what we have lost. But I want to thank those that got us to today, those that kept on going, those that hung on to their children and didn't give them to the system. You know, the child welfare is the modern day residential school today. The jail system, where our brothers and sisters, why can't the government and the Vatican work with us and build some nice facilities to heal our families? Where we lost our parenting skills as well. You know, but I too, I'm an optimist. I believe that there's hope for our people. You know, our people come a long ways just by using their hands, their heart, their mind, their work ethic. You know, so I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for listening to us as we are part of history today. You know, and in closing, I had to learn about the Vatican flag yesterday real quick because it intrigued me. There was 2 keys on that flag. And the individual from the Vatican said, it's in the Bible. Those are the 2 keys to heaven. So what I'm hoping here today is the Pope brought our key as First Nations people to heal, to have a better life, to prosper. You know what, like I said before, First Nations were never part of the problem here on Turtle Island. Our kindness, once again, was taken advantage of. You know what? But that's a teaching for our children, to be kind, to greet each other in a good way, to love, to respect each other. And we can learn off our children. And they're the ones that will help us break the generational trauma. So with that, Nista, I'm thankful for today, thankful to the Creator. You know, things happen for a reason. You know, and let's learn to coexist the way it's supposed to be. You know, I think about my relatives, my friends, and my families that are lost in addiction. They call them homelessness. And some of them have names for them as they stagger down these back alleys in these little towns. But them too are human beings. We pray for them today and we think about them. You know, we are different shades of skin on the outside, but we're in this inside, we're the same. Remember that. We are all God's children. So with that, thank you for coming. We thank everybody for today, the host, the elders, the drummers, the Escapios that helped the best they could. You know, and we need to move forward one day at a time in harmony. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Elder, Knowledge Keeper, and Survivor, as well as member of Samson Cree Nation, John Crier.
Tansa no ako magante kay nanas ko mo ay ogisay mi vino epe tagote Mina, the Prime Minister, the leaders in the country, the leaders in the city, Mina gota no ako maganak. The leaders that sit at the table here, I have a lot of gratitude for them, and especially Willie, Chief Willie Littlechild, and I hope that he gathers strength. I hope wellness for him, and. He has done so much work for our community. He has been such a leader. And so today, you know, I listened to the Pope with the apologizing. And in my own experience as a survivor, in 1954, I was 6 years old when I first started school. I didn't know English at that time. I spoke my language, and I followed the traditional spirituality of my parents and grandparents. And when we were taught English, when we were taught the Bible, that I understood, and I heard that the language that we were speaking was not allowed, and what belief that we had in spirituality was the superstition, was the work of the devil, and in a way, a lot of us, we had to change. We had to believe that because we saw the abuse that happened. I saw little naive children wanting to please adults, being physically beaten because they couldn't help it but speak their language. They didn't know the English language. And so it was beaten into us. And when I think about it now, you know, the kids were taken away from the parents, and where we have the arbor, there was a big open field there, and all there was just a wagon road. And there wasn't a road that went through, just an old wagon trail. But we used to see some parents come and camp, set up a tent just on the other side of the fence so their children could see them, even though they weren't allowed to come into the grounds, and the kids weren't allowed to go across the fence. So they would wave at them. And so so I think, you know, the reality of, you know, what happened a long time ago is it's hard to talk about. And so many people, I believe in my own age or what we have experienced, we don't like to, I mean, we just shut down. We don't like to talk about it because sometimes it's hard when some people are wanting to be convinced that, you know, those times were bad, you know, and sometimes you just, you know, shake the head and say, you know, it's just hard to explain. What I feel, my own observation after all these years now, is that I believe that the most important aspect of who we are as a people, the spiritual part of us, was we were spiritually deprived, spiritually abused. And by changing our belief system, it changed our belief system in what our parents, our grandparents had taught us. It changed our belief system of what gave strength to the community, what gave strength to the reason to speak the language. I was fortunate that when I went back, that my parents were still, they would only speak to us in our language, and so we were fortunate. Even though I had lost most of my language, when I went back and when I left school, because most of my family and my people of my peers were in our traditional spirituality, and so that became home for me, and so that's where I relearned my language again. It just didn't felt good. It just didn't feel good to speak the English language inside the sweat lodge or inside the lodge of any kind. And so speaking the Cree language came back, and that's what really helped. Today I'm involved in a lot of different organizations. And one of the organizations that I'm involved in is we're talking about appropriation. And I believe now what happened is that, you know, we use the word white people. And, you know, for me, I say quote unquote white, because there really isn't any nation that I know of, any country that I know of that's called white. You know, so what I understand is that it's a concept, a mental concept that has been it's a mental concept of superiority of the descendants of European, based on skin color, that says that they're superior to the people, to the brown-skinned, red-skinned people in this continent or any other place, and I understand from you know, reading history books, you know. John A. MacDonald, came up with the residential schools, and with the idea that they were going to, educate, take the Indian out, and install the whiteness into the children for them to survive. It might have worked, but there's a certain spiritual loyalty that the children had to their parents, to their grandparents, to also a certain spiritual energy of saying who I am, Nia Nehio, Nia Nehio, and I cannot say I am a white man. I can only say Nia Nehio. I am a Plains Cree. And when I say that, I acknowledge my parents, my grandparents, all the people in my history, all the people in our history. We have survived on this land for, thousands of years. We are of this land. And when the settlers moved into the country, what I observe is that, and I think the same thing, it still happens today, where we demonize, a certain country, and then we bomb the heck out of it, and we don't have to feel guilty. Our people were demonized on this land. We were called savages. We were inferior to the superiority of white, and so it was okay to take the land. It was okay to put us in residential school. It was okay to push us into reserves where the land was mostly, rejected. And so, so all these things have come about. And so I asked myself, is this apology enough? And so, I see the leaders of the country, if this apology is to work, what is the other side of the treaty doing about it? We're all, beneficiaries of the treaty. We benefited, as best as our leaders could negotiate from the treaty. But we lost a huge amount because our leaders were naive that our land could be just taken away like that. And so what I understand now, from this apology is that 50 years from now, what is this going to look like in relationship? 100 years from now, it's been 500 years since the settlers arrived. And here we are. 500 years from now, what is it going to look like? So my belief is that this is a huge opportunity. You, the press, are the spokespeople. You, from your writings, you send a message to the rest of Canada. What does the rest of Canada need to hear from this apology? What's happened in our community? We are emerging. our people are, just from the necessity in recognizing enough, we are now beginning to stand strong. We are beginning to heal with each other. We are beginning to heal from these wounds. And my thought on that is that we are much greater than the physical abuse and the sexual abuse, the mental, the spiritual abuse that we have experienced. We are much greater than that. And we are beginning to, we begin to see it in the children and the youth who are now graduating. And so the time, I believe, is changing, and so, as the people get stronger, we want to bring the men out of the prison. We want to bring the women out of prison. We want to bring the children home from foster homes. And so we believe and we know that we can do this work. And, it's always been with us but we have never had that control. And so now, it's an opportunity to share the land. It's an opportunity to share the resources. It's an opportunity to share so that Indigenous people can walk the streets and feel safe. Indigenous people can walk in town and feel included, not harassed by the police or identified as vagrants. We are of this land. We are not vagrants of this land. And so, this is the message that I get from the Pope. He has done his apology. And so the church and the rest of Canada, the governments, while we're doing this work of healing, I'm expecting that they also, will be doing their work. After all, we're in this together. Excellent. Hi.
And now we will hear from St. Anne's Residential School survivor and advocate, Evelyn Korkmaz.
First, I would like to thank all the chiefs from Treaty Number 6 for welcoming me to their land, to allow me to hear the Pope's apology. Thank you very much. English. It's been a very emotional day for me as a survivor. I had my ups and downs, my hoorays, my disappointments, my wanting more and not getting it. I've waited 50 years for this apology, and finally today, I heard it. And unfortunately, a lot of my family members, friends, classmates, and members of my community that went to residential school were not able to hear it because they had passed on through suicide, alcohol addiction, suicide, sorry, said that, and other substance abuse or whatnot, because they could not endure or live with the trauma that they endured in these residential schools. Pope Francis said today that he wanted to walk, pray, and work with us, to seek justice, truth, and reconciliation. Today, I heard an apology I was hoping to hear some kind of work plan, how he's going to reconcile, because reconciliation means many different things to many different people. St. Anne's residential school survivors have been fighting for 10 years in the courtrooms of Canada, and we have not sought justice. St. Anne's Residential School is the school that had the electric chair, and a lot of my community members were put on this chair. That's torture. I have gone to the UN, to Geneva, Switzerland, 3 years in a row, 2018, 19, and 20, and I was planning to go in 2021, but COVID hit, so I stayed home. I spoke to the UN and asked them to respect the rights of our Indigenous people in our own country. This is our country. We welcomed you to our country, and we were shown disrespect. That's not right. No other country would put up with that. I'm hoping to attend the Quebec Pope's visit. There, I'm hoping that he extends his apology with a work plan on how he is trying to seek reconciliation with us, how he wants to work with us, because there was no mention in his apology of releasing the documents that we desperately need across Canada. These documents have our history. These documents hold where these unburied, lost souls were buried. These documents hold the identification of these children. It would give their families, loved ones, closure. Everybody needs closure in order to heal and move on. And this is all we are asking, is for those documents to be released. They belong here in Canada. They belong to us. This is our history. They don't belong in Rome. They belong here. It's just very overwhelming because I've waited 50 years to hear this apology, and finally the day has arrived. Part of me is rejoiced, part of me is sad, part of me is numb. But I am glad I lived long enough to have witnessed his apology. But like I said, I want more, because 50 years is too long to wait for an apology. Thank you.
Thanks very much. We'll turn to questions now. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll have someone get a microphone to you. And just a reminder, we would like to limit questions as time is limited to one question per media outlet. Please state your name and the name of your organization.
Hey everybody, thank you. My name's Jeff. I'm actually working for Samson Cree Nation and Ermineskin Cree Nation. So I just want to thank you for inviting us and welcoming us to Treaty 6, to the lands here. If the chiefs are okay, just for all the media here, if you can, there's a powwow in a couple weeks. You should come down. Maybe you can let us know about the significance of Wilton Littlechild, Chief Wilton Littlechild, passing on the headdress. Obviously, I'm not asking to speak for Chief Wilton Littlechild, but maybe a lot of us folks here don't understand how important that is and what that actually means. And I'm hoping somebody, it can be anybody, who would like to take that. Thank you.
The giving of the headdress is honoring a man as the honorary chief and leader in a community. And so in doing that, he's actually adopted him into as one of our leaders in the community. And so it's an honorary, it's an honoring of the man. It's an honoring of the work that he has done. And it also is recognizing from the community that here is a man that belongs into our tribe.
Hi, my question's for Chief Randy Ermineskin. My name's Sarah Comadina. I'm with Global News. We talked a lot about just how raw this day was going to make people feel and has made people feel. But now that this day has come and is passing, what is next for supports and for people who did have those wounds reopened? Thank you.
I think the biggest thing here, and it was mentioned earlier that the Pope came to make an apology, and forgive me for saying this, but he didn't bring a checkbook, right, to fix all these things. But at the same time, the Prime Minister and the Governor General, which the Governor General supposed to speak on our behalf with the Queen and the Crown. So she has a responsibility. She heard that there's an apology, and her work begins now to remedy some of these things with whatever services are available for our survivors and those that did not make it. I think that's one thing that my brother, former chief from Alexander, said, what about my parents that didn't make it, right? What are we doing to honor them? And that's such an important thing, because I sat there, like I said, with remembering my own family members that have slowly passed on lately and not able to talk about their experiences. So I believe some will begin to speak, some will either retreat even further back, and we need to find that way. And I was talking to our mental health here. They're saying that they're going to monitor Facebook and see what's going on. You know, I think that's a really good way of tracking. But right now, it's important that they have to come up with a plan. What do they need to do? You know, it's something where, well, 3-6 months is going to be good. It's not going to be. This is, like my sister said here, 50 years she's waited, and she's still not convinced that things are remedied. And what is it that we're looking for? Justice. That's what I want to know. I'll never know what my brothers went through, but I know something happened. So we need to find a way forward at the importance of finding solutions, but also not giving up till the individuals themselves are convinced that, hey, you know what, I feel a lot better today. But I didn't hear that today, right? And I don't think anybody thought about that as well. We just wanted to hear an apology, but now the work begins. And what is that work? So I'm hoping that our government leaders are listening, and that we need help, because a lot of people hung around after the Pope left waiting for an opportunity to speak to somebody and hug somebody and embrace somebody. There's something happening, and what are we doing about it? And I think I'm hoping that the governments are listening.
Hi, my name is Fakia. I'm a reporter with the Canadian Press. I was wondering if any of you can describe what happened after the Pope's apology. There was a woman who seemed like was singing "O Canada" in Crier, and I was wondering if you can translate what she said and what she was trying to say, maybe.
There's a term in our language, and Willie mentioned that the Cree term for Canada is kanata. This land was, I think there's a statement that the Freedom Convoy said, "True North, strong and free." Our land was pure, and it's hurting, and because our people are hurting. So that's what she was trying to demonstrate. This land was, before the settlers came, before this disruption, we had a way of life. And that's what she was trying to get the message across. As young as she was trying to send a message that something happened, there's a disruption, we had a way of life, it was disturbed. Now, what are you going to do to fix that? And that's what she was trying to get across. And because nobody else would have said that, I think on behalf of those that didn't make it, she spoke. She made a statement to everyone that there is a great deal of work and amount of work that needs to be done today going forward. But that's what the Cree term means, kanata.
Hi, I'm Chico Harlan from the Washington Post. As a journalist, my ability to interpret the way the Pope's words are received is very limited, so I put this question to you with that said. It was obviously a very personal apology, but when he had the opportunity to talk about the entity of the church, he would instead talk about many members of the church, and in that sense, he wasn't talking about the institution. So I wonder if you took note of that and whether that left you feeling that the aspect that aspect of the apology was a little wanting.
Today, I'm really very, very happy because I brought my mother with me. My mother's not here, but she has a cross, and my mother is very Catholic, and my mother would have been very pleased to hear and have the Pope come to Canada and come to Alberta and talk about the things that our people have been struggling with for many, many years. But I have a unbalanced feeling. On one hand, I'm very happy and somewhat, overwhelmed with the Pope's words. But on the other side, you start to think about the idea that the church, if you listen to the words, the church is not just him, it's the people in the church. And the people in the church also need to change their ways. And not just the priests and the people who teach, but the parishers, the people within the church, Canadians, as far as we're concerned, need to understand and take an education as to what has happened here and what has taken place. Because there's still a lot of challenges that the communities have. We have too much drugs, too much alcohol, too much home breakups. We have too many children in care. I could go on all afternoon talking about all those things, and all those things were because of what happened to our parents and their parents when they went to residential school. Nobody's talking about that. And so even though my mother, bless her soul, was a good Catholic, they hurt her. And I have a hard time forgiving for that because her parents were hurt. She told us stories where her father was sitting on a chair and people came in with this truck and drug her from under his chair and put her in the back of a truck to go to school. Who who would allow that? None of us would allow that. Our children to be taken from us while we're sitting on a chair. We wouldn't allow that. And the humility of your children being taken away from you and not being able to do anything about it because the Indian agent and other people, the RCMP, have said, no, your children got to go. So we got some work to do. And I think we're ready to do that work. But we also need the church to help us change the people that are part of the church, because the church is a big part of what we are. Even still today at our midnight mass in my community last Christmas, and our priest only comes periodically, so word gets out. Our priest hadn't been there for about a month and was going to come to midnight mass, but he was going to do he was going to baptize. We had like 14 babies there of young people who I know do not understand what the Catholic Church did. But because their parents told them they had to be baptized, because their parents said this is the way we got to do things for your children to be good children, because that's what they learned. So we got to change some things. We got to fix some things. We got to have the church unlearn the things that they've learned and help us make the changes if we're going to be partners. If they want to survive in our communities, they got to change. Because some of us are going to make darn sure that our people are going to have a seat at the table. Our people are going to be part of the discussion, and we're going to be partners. Hi.
Were there more questions? We're packed in here pretty closely. I want to make sure we don't miss anyone. Oh, okay. Thank you. We'll just pass the mic forward to you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Daisuke Nakai. I work for the Asahi Shimbun of Japan. It's a similar question to the preceding one, but how would you compare the Pope's statement to the one he made in April, and what was the difference for you? This is probably best for Grand Chief Arcand.
I think the Pope is trying. I do. I think the Pope was genuine today, but he's got a big institution. And in order for him to move his people and change things, he's got a big challenge too. I think the Pope tried hard today to take on the weight of the church's wrongs. I think he tried hard to do that. Came so close to saying that the church is totally responsible for everything. I think, I believe what he said today was a lot deeper and stronger and much more heartfelt thought was put into this apology. And I'm really grateful for that. But he also mentioned a couple things that I think people need to recognize. One of them is that he talked about we got to work in partnership. We got to change things. He talked about the fact that the church needs to do some things to fix itself. And I hope that they do that. And he also, I think, wanted to send some messages to Canada and Canadians and talked about, let's work together. Let's understand that the people have been here a long time. This is their country. And his messages were clear today. So I hope that while the apology was had some similar pieces, I felt today was as far as the Pope could go, and that now we need to start seeing some action around the Pope's words. And I think he, if I understand their system, I think he charged the archbishops and some of the cardinals to take on that. So we will be knocking on those doors on Wednesday morning.
Oh. Hi. Sorry, we have another question.
Hi, that name is Margaret Mackay. I'm from Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. I represent News North newspaper out of Yellowknife. I too am a residential survivor and a 60 scoop survivor. The coming of this main event here in Edmonton was massive. I was at awe of everything, and you chief sitting at the front, the event was well planned and organized, so kudos to you all, and the food and your security, and also thank you for allowing us to come here. One of my main questions is that now that you leadership are aware of this reconciliation with the Pope, are you as leaders going to follow through and move forward in having, to form a elders committee or with the Roman Catholic Church, to move forward on your agenda and to speak to other First Nations leaders all across Canada, so you can form one committee and to make it vocal and advocate for the residential school survivors, is my question.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I think it's a very good question, especially in light of the events today. I think him coming to apologize, means a lot in regards to us creating that first step toward healing. But also, when I say this, I speak of our brothers and sisters, within United States, within Central America, within South America, that were impacted the same as us. Definitely we're going to start our journey, and I'm hoping the church can see their way in time to reach our brothers and sisters in the South, and put in consideration that they too also want to have some sort of healing process. It was good that we got the government to make that apology before. It was good to get the apology also from the Vatican. But I think also moving forward as part of the healing process, there's other groups that need to come forward and realize the atrocities that occurred to First Nations people, Inuit and Métis alike, were all systematic within other groups also. Maybe even the RCMP, in light of the work they had did in gathering our children and bringing them to those residential schools, should have that apology also. It'd be good to see also maybe something from the Crown. That would be ideal in regards to us and part of our healing process. Maybe even Canadian citizens alike. It'd be nice to hear their input in regards to how they see themselves as part of this healing process. But this is a long time coming, and I respect and admire our elders for stepping up and speaking as survivors of residential schools and the impact that it had. Our elder, 50 years to wait for an apology was a long time. That shouldn't have took so long. I think we are here now, but and I think we have a bit more work to work toward in regards to finding that closure. Hi.
And we've come to our final question in the front row here. Thank you.
Tansy. Hello, Chiefs. My name is Danielle Parody. I'm with APTN. My Cree name is She Carries Knowledge, and I'm a little too close to this mic, so I'm sorry for the feedback. The question that I had was, and this can be for you, Chief George, but anyone can also answer. Would you like to see, when we talk about justice, would you like to see criminal charges for the violence against children? Hi.
I just want to say, I believe it's a crime scene. I had an elder in northeastern Alberta remind us some of these schools had incinerators. She said you can smell this funny odor of something burning, and you knew it wasn't good. You know, just imagine if the tables were turned and it happened to you. I'll call you my white brothers and sisters. And you know, and I think it is a crime scene, and there should be an investigation like what was shared by an outside source, not the RCMP. And you know what? And I just want to share. You know, the Pope too is a human being, and he was a child at the time. You know, when this was going on as well, and for him to come, he's brave. To try and take that whole weight on his shoulders to try and make it all right. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time, and it's going to take generations for our people to heal. You know, because we lost a lot, and you know, it's genocide in the land of milk and honey, which I call Canada, where we are a peace country, where when something goes wrong in the world, we're the first ones there, but yet we don't take care of our own backyard. You know, and that's why First Nations are so far behind. You know, like all the programming, the infrastructure, the housing, the boil water advisories. You know, our people live in third world conditions across this country. You know, even that is not right. You know, where our people should have water is a human right. You know, so I just wanted to share that. Yeah, I believe that there should be criminal charges, and that somebody should be charged, or maybe 2 or 3 organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.